Hey guys, my name is Megan Kerstetter and welcome to the channel. For today's image, I'm pulling from the archive of past work I have recorded and finally putting a voiceover to it. I made this image last year, but I still really love it and wanted to make a video even though it's pretty short. I think I forgot to turn on the time-lapse feature in Clip Studio for when I was working on the sketch, which is a real bummer because it would have been nice to see. Oh well, them's the breaks, I guess. I'm still low-key trying to decide if I like Clip Studio's recording feature or if it's too fast for longer YouTube videos. It's great in that the canvas doesn't move around sporadically as I zoom in and out, but a little inconvenient since it only records the strokes after they've been made and plays them each for like a millisecond. It's weird because to lengthen this video a bit, I actually slowed it down as opposed to speeding it up. Kind of felt a bit like I had entered the Twilight Zone doing that for an art video. I hope they make more features for how recordings can be made, like allowing you to record snapshots of longer strokes. Krita kind of has something like that where you can record a second's worth of a stroke, so maybe Clip Studio will take a leaf out of their book and do something similar in the future. For this illustration, I wanted to keep things really simple, nothing too detailed with the shading, but still very pretty. From the beginning, I knew I wanted to make stained glass in the background, though you can tell from my sketch I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it. At first I was thinking I was going to go with some kind of cat demon eye theme. That quickly went out the window as I started playing with the symmetry tool. Look, I love that stupid little ruler tool. It's just so fast and easy to put down abstract patterny shapes. I don't use it that much anymore for this, but every once in a while I like making portraits with it too. It's great for making a perfect front view of a character if you want to model it in 3D, but I digress. As I was drawing the stained glass, I got the feeling there is some kind of story here. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think each of the glass circles represent characters that could potentially be in the story, with the crescent shape around them representing the character in the piece. Maybe it will be something I revisit in the future since I really like the character design. I feel like I'm getting some kind of paladin mage vibe from them. Hey, if I ever play D&D again, maybe I'll explore this character more. But let's be real, if I did that, they'd just turn into a rogue because that's pretty much the only class I ever want to play. Another thing I've been trying to push myself to do is draw more of my characters with different emotions and not be afraid to depict things like sadness or anger. I think this is a bit of the start of that journey, and I do like how it turned out in the end. There's a soft melancholy to the piece that I really like, and I'm glad I explored that direction for a finished illustration. I think you can tell as I was deciding what to do with the background, I was having a lot of fun messing with the thickness of my lines. I went in a bit of the opposite direction to what you would usually do with a piece and had the foreground character have thinner line art than the background. In the end, I still feel like it worked out though. If anything, I might consider making the thick black lines between the pieces of glass a bit lighter, but by the end, I like how it melted into the strong border I put on the sides. I was really going for a graphic look to make the character pop from the canvas. This was a really self-indulgent illustration, and I tried to enjoy myself as I was playing around with the different aspects of it. I may do it a bit more often than I should, but I like figuring out my artwork as I go as opposed to drawing thumbnails beforehand. Gasp! Absolute artist sacrilege! Burn her at the stake! I know, this is not really the best way to work, but like I said, this was a self-indulgent piece, and sometimes I think you should just enjoy yourself and not follow the so-called rules all the time. Taking it one step at a time can also help to keep my focus, as I'm always trying to discover something new about my work as I go. That being said, I am not telling you to throw away all of your work processes and just go nuts all the time. Okay, well, maybe just some of the time, whatever works for you. In all seriousness, though, there are large benefits to thumbnailing and planning before you start any kind of artwork. I encourage all artists to take the time to build a structured workflow. I know if I was working on a project like a book or a comic, I would want a pretty solid idea of what to do before starting any final pages. I'd say the best of both worlds is using a very loose mindset at the beginning of a project and then slowly refining it as I go. It's just important to me not to get too caught up in structure at the beginning of a piece, and having a variety of methods really seems to be the key to keeping me focused. That, and always stopping to ask questions. There are so many times I get caught up in a problem that could have been fixed faster if I just took a moment to stop and consider why things aren't working the way I want them to. There was this thing I was once told to do every so often with my artwork, and that is to stand up and take a step or two back from my canvas. It's such a simple change in perspective, but it helps you to slow down and consider your next move. What I'm trying to say is, if you're stuck somewhere in your project, stop and start asking questions about your work. It doesn't matter if they seem silly or stupid, asking in ignorance is the first step to understanding with intelligence. Alright, that's all the fortune cookie baloney you're going to get from me today. Moving right along, I'm finally getting into the colored part of the piece, which, thanks to the method of coloring I'm using, is going to go by a lot faster than the rest of the drawing process. Bless the fill tool and all its benefits. At first I try to stick to a red and green complementary palette, but you'll see as we go along I changed my mind about a lot of my beginning color choices. Thankfully, changing flat colors is relatively easy, and all areas the fill tool missed have already been taken care of from beforehand. Eventually, you'll see how I desaturate the background and adjust my warm red colors towards cooler pinks and purples. To keep things consistent throughout the image, I also changed the character's hair to match, which helps the focal point pop from the background. Changing the hair color really made me fall in love with this image again, and I'm glad I took the time to adjust my original choices. This one is not quite a perfect complementary scheme when seen on a color wheel, but it still works surprisingly well. Something else I tried was to really sell that the glass has light passing through it. To do this, I flatten and duplicate my background layer, turn down the opacity, and run a Gaussian blur over it. I do the same thing to the character, but to less of an extent, and it really makes things feel dreamlike, especially after I put in the shading. I realize right now that this all seems a little bit too soon to talk about because we haven't really caught up with it in the video. Oh, there it is, there's my colors. I think this is a good spot to let you know this picture will be available as a download from my shop, as well as coloring pages. Please tag me if you post pictures of either of these. I would love to see them. And if you would like to show your support in another way, it would be great if you like this video or follow my channel. Oh yeah, and if you want to show your support by donating to my Ko-fi page, I'd be incredibly thankful. Every bit helps me to maintain my equipment and keep doing what I love. Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, you guys are the best, and I can't wait to see you later.